Here we are. Okay. I'm a little nervous, I guess. Well, I don't know. I feel a couple different emotions. Just sharing my story of dealing with stage 4 endometriosis. Yeah. Even my body just reacted to that so strongly. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to give an update because I feel like the last time I shared my story of like endometriosis was 3 years ago, 2023, when I got diagnosed and had my first surgery. So I kind of just want to use this to encourage other ladies and just share my story with anyone who can relate or just needs information or just has thoughts or just got diagnosed or just, any of those things. So I'll just start from the beginning. So the first time I had to be rushed to the emergency room was in 2021, right? Was it 2021? Oh, I should have fact checked real quick. But anyways, we're going to say 2021. I'll update on the screen if that's the wrong year. But I believe that was the year that I was having this extreme pain in my pelvic that was not going away. I was like doing my nails, I was doing my feet actually, painting my toes. And the way I was positioned, like my knee was all the way to my chest. And I was like, this pain is not going away. And I'm like, I'm not on my cycle. Why am I feeling this pain? And I was like, Darchi, you're going to take me to the emergency. Something's wrong. So he took me to the emergency and I'm trying to check in and I end up fainting, checking in to the emergency room. It's not funny. I'm laughing because that's just all I could do right now. But I fainted while trying to check into the emergency room. And they took me back immediately, which low key, I'm kind of glad I fainted because it is hard to get any quick assistance in the emergency room unless your leg is falling off. So that really was to my benefit that I passed out and was able to get attention right away. And then they did a CT or a CAT scan, whatever, to check to see what was going on. That's when I found out that I had a cyst, a small cyst. And they were trying to make sure that it wasn't ovarian torsion. I be want to say torsion. It's torsion. And I didn't, so I was okay. They watched me overnight and I left that morning. So that was the first time I found out that I had like a cyst or anything's growing down there in my, uterus area. And it was shocking to me because I was like, dang, I've never had issues like this before. I mean, I had rough periods, but I thought that was normal. I had hard, rough cramping and all that stuff. So then fast forward, they mentioned that I could get surgery to remove the cyst, but it's not big enough to like be worried about. So I didn't worry about it. Then fast forward, I believe it was 2022, near the end of the year. I was laying down on my stomach, like doing an exercise, and it was like a hump. And I was like, I know this ain't the cyst. I know it ain't grown this big that I can see it when I, lay on my back. So I make an appointment. And by the time I make the appointment, y'all, it was growing bigger. So when I saw the doctor, she was like, yeah, you need to get this removed immediately. So actually, I saw her twice. So I saw her and she was like, yeah, I do see something here. We'll schedule a sonogram. But the sonogram was like a month or two later. And by that month or two, it even grew bigger to where she was like, at that visit, you need to go get that removed like tomorrow. So she referred me to this specialist, and I had my appointment with her, and then we scheduled a surgery date, which ended up being February of 2023. So I'm freaking out. I'm scared because even with them doing lab tests to kind of see if the cyst that was growing was cancerous, like having that in the back of my mind, like I could possibly have cancer, or just the thought, it was terrifying, to be honest. And then that's one of my biggest fears. Like, I don't have a lot of fears, but growing up, I would be like, my fear is having to go under. Like, I waited years before I took my wisdom teeth out because I have a fear of going under anesthesia or whatever it's called. So the fact that I have to do a surgery that I definitely have to be knocked out for, and then to hope that everything goes smoothly. Well, I was terrified. I was praying to the Lord. I was praying to God, please get me through. Like, please don't let me die on the operating table. That was just like my biggest fear. So I even have like video journals of me just like talking it out with God, trying to get through mentally, of staying positive and not thinking the worst, taking captive of my thoughts, making sure they're not negative. But yeah, so they end up having to take my right ovary and fallopian tube out. They took the cyst out, which was about 20 centimeters. And then they had to take my appendix out as well. And that's when I was diagnosed with the stage 4 endometriosis, because the lesions, they call it, was all on the cyst, and the cyst and the lesions in my appendix, it was toe up. So she had to toss that as well, which was crazy to find that information out too. So she removed as much of the endometriosis lesions as possible that was in my body, but she couldn't even get all of it because she was fearful that she would have to like do a whole hysterectomy, because my uterus and my colon were still connected, and she just didn't want too much blood, me to lose too much blood and cause too much problems with everything else. So I lost my right ovary. They removed the cyst, and I lost my appendix and was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis. So that was a lot of information, but I was happy that I didn't lose everything. Like, that was my main thing too. I didn't want to lose all my reproductive organs because of the unknown. So, and then the cyst, they took that to pathology, and the cyst was not cancerous. So that was another thank you, Lord. So the recovery for that surgery, I was at the hospital, I believe, for 2 or 3 nights, and I had great nurses. So I really did not have a bad time at all at the hospital. What else? Okay, so I will say, you feel, because I got cut from the top of, was it the top of my belly button? Yes. So above my belly button, down all the way to the hood of the cooch. So I'm cut straight down like that. And they had me wide open doing all the stuff. So for recovery, I felt like a stuffed turkey. That was the best way for me to describe it. I just felt stuffed, like bloated, super bloated. But other than that, I didn't feel pain. And I don't know, there's some other things that come with it, which I don't know if I want to share on camera, which is really, it's not really bad, to be honest. But it just causes you to have a lot of gas. So you feel very bloated, a lot of gas with it would be the worst part. of the recovery. And I had to do a lot of walking, just like small movements. I even walked out the hospital a couple nights to make sure, everything flows properly. Like you can't even leave the hospital until you have like some type of bowel movement because they want to make sure everything is, working. So that was how my surgery recovery was. It really wasn't bad. It wasn't too painful, but very, very bloated, feeling stuffed. So then, just trying to recover, heal, do my thing and stuff. Then 4 months later, I end up having a bowel obstruction. So I have to go to the emergency again. I'm having abdominal pain. I'm like, not again. What's this? What is this pain? And I'm like, it's just gas. And I was out with friends. So I really was trying to just like, oh, my husband's calling me. He's messing me up. I have to call him later. Um, but I'm with friends. So I'm trying to enjoy myself, have a good time. And then I'm like, this pain is not going away. Like I went the whole night trying to just dance it away, have fun, eating, drinking. But then at one point of the night, I literally did go to the restroom and I was in there for a while. And Darcy was like, where's my wife? Like, can someone go check on her in the bathroom? But yeah, we went home and the pain still wasn't going away. So I was like, babe, take me to the ER. And I was just like so defeated because I was like, I do not want to go back to the hospital. So we go. They tell me, oh, you have a bowel obstruction. And that time I had to wait for a long time in the emergency room. Could have died. But anyways, I digress. So finally got back, was in excruciating pain. Really, really bad pain. They gave me some like morphine, I think, which I was like, woo, all right. This is some strong stuff. But even that, it was not lasting long because that pain was still there. So they ended up letting me know I had a bowel obstruction. And I found out too, the ovary that I have left, the one I have on the left side, has a cyst on it. So I'm like, I just had a surgery 4 months ago to remove these cysts. You mean to tell me a cyst is back? Boohoo crying, boohoo mad. I have to have another emergency surgery. So I was just crying, calling my mom and dad. It just was a lot, but I didn't really have too much time to like whine about it because they were like, okay, we gotta take you back. Like they were supposed to put, don't don't quote me, but it's like an NG tube or some type of tube in your nose to pump your stomach. And they were going to have to do it to me while I was awake, or the nurse was wanting to. He was like, I'm going to have to put this, do this. It's going to be uncomfortable. But he didn't even get to do it. He was about to, or just telling me how he was going to. And then they like, okay, we got to take her back. We got to take her back. They were like, we'll put the tube in when she's down. And which I was like, thank you, Jesus, because the way the nurse was describing it, I did not want to experience that. So they end up rushing me back, and then I have to like wipe myself down with this soap and change into the garment and stuff. And then they take me back, and that must seem really quick. It's like, it was done quickly. I mean, it's always seems quick. They give you the anesthesia stuff and you just out. But yeah, so that was a smooth surgery too. And then that was nerve wracking as well because they were like, oh, depending on how bad your bowel obstruction is, we might have to give you a stoma. So, them packs, when people have to release themselves and they have a pack on their stomach. So then I was like, oh, gosh, Lee, like, you mean to tell me that's a possibility? I have to have that? So, I thank God. I mean, no offense to people who do have it, but I know it's not ideal. But I was grateful that I did not have to do that. So they just did laparoscopic. So I just had 3 different like little hole punctures in my stomach, and they were able to remove the adhesions. Like some of my intestines were, stuck together from the first surgery, like scar tissue basically from the first surgery. So they were able to remove that. And I stayed in the hospital for about like 2 days, 2 nights. And nurses were great. But yeah, it still was like a mind thing, like dealing with the fact that the cyst came back and me being nervous, like, is it going to grow again super big? And then I'm going to lose that left ovary. But I still have it 3 years later. So now, I'll say 2023, all that happened, those two surgeries. Then Darchi told me to quit my job because I just wasn't really doing well mentally and working and having our, side business of photography. It was just a lot. Then 2024, I think it was hard just mentally recovering from the previous year. And then I want to say I had 2 flare-ups in 2024, one or two, but they didn't require me to go to the hospital. So I had like many like bad flare-ups. And then 2025, I was doing pretty good. I had maybe one or two, but the end of 2025, I ended up having to go to the emergency room. I hope I'm saying this right. I might skip a couple other flare-ups, but what a flare-up is basically is just like really strong abdominal pain from inflammation. And the last few times they've just been telling me it's just inflammation and that the cyst has grown. So I'll just tell y'all what my last visit, or my last two visits. So in 2025, around December, I had a flare up, and they said the cyst that's on my left ovary is like 5 centimeters now. And then my fallopian tube is enlarged as well, I think about 5 centimeters. And then they said they found a small fibroid in my uterus. So I was like, dang, that's a lot. That's a lot going on. That's a lot going on. Okay. So then I just recently had another flare up right after Easter. Now, I'm not even going to repeat what they said because I kind of don't want to claim it because it's hard to explain. I believe what they're saying, but I think they measured the cysts incorrectly. I'll just say that. So I'm still going off of the information of the 5 centimeter cyst and the 5 centimeter fallopian tube swollen. Because I'll just say it. When I went in April, they said 10 centimeters. But the way they even checked, they checked on my stomach. And usually, like when they check, they do an ultrasound, they do a transvaginal one. So I'm just like, y'all might not be able to read everything. Y'all might be reading the whole thing together instead of separately, because 10 didn't make sense to me because I just went in December and now in April it's just grown. And I've been taking birth control too within those months. So it just seemed odd. And then they didn't acknowledge anything else. They didn't acknowledge the fallopian tube. They didn't acknowledge the fibroid. So to me, I don't know if they got a good reading, especially how they read it as well. But that is just the latest on it, is that I still have this ovarian cyst and my fallopian tube is blocked with a cyst. So I guess we can say a cyst, or with inflammation in it. And right now it's like, this is my battle. of course, I want kids. Me and Darcy do want kids, one or two, whatever the Lord blesses us with. But neither him or me are not like, I want them today. Even growing up, like my mom had me and my brother, had me at 30, my brother at 34. I was okay with having kids in my early 30s, and I'm still in my early 30s. But it's like having this condition and having these cysts, it's almost like, oh, do I need to rush? Do I need to just go ahead and hurry up and do it? And I just have that battle because I'm like, financially, we're not where we want to be. The home, we're not where we want to be. So it's just like truly trusting and waiting on God to kind of give that direction. Because I mean, I have a lot going on. Like I may need fertility specialist help too, and that costs money. That's not free. And it's like financially, can we afford that? But I am um my OBGYN did give me a referral to a fertility specialist, so we are going to go there just to figure out and just to know all of our options. So we're just not sitting silly, stuck with no options, you know? So that's where we are at this moment, is just figuring out, finding out all of our options, because kids are not something to play with, and it's not something to just get it over with, you know? I don't view starting a family that way. And then, you get a lot of outside pressure from friends, not really family, but depending, not my close immediate family because they know what I'm going through, but family that doesn't know everything, or just outside people, um, colleagues, or what's that called? They're not friends, but they're like acquaintances. Yeah, sometimes people just make comments and it's just like, oh, Lord willing, because, we got a lot that we're battling with, one, our desires, with one, health. So it's just not easy. It's like, when y'all having kids, you know? But I try to not be too offended because, one, everyone doesn't know what's going on in my story. And people, typically are being innocent when they say that. But yeah, like it's not the easiest thing to deal with or cope with. It does messes with you mentally, physically, um, spiritually, for sure. But I can say though, I feel way more confident and I feel so much better overall right now. I can say that 2024, 2025, I probably would not be able to say that. But I feel more confident. I'm trusting in God and this whole process of health. And that's the thing too, like I'm trying way harder to be more disciplined in the health of like taking care of myself, like what I'm eating. Because, like I've always been pretty like health conscious, but obviously too, I've been eating and drinking and doing what I want as well. So it's like I'm at the point where I'm like, I gotta be a little bit more stricter. Like I can't be no drinking for me, no more. I'm sober. Don't ask me. I'm not drinking it. And I love a good shot, but no. I can't do it. It inflames me. I'm gonna be having a flare up. It doesn't work. So, like, not drinking anymore. I'm on a anti-inflammatory diet. No dairy. I mean, I do eat eggs, but no milk. We're not doing it. We're doing almond milk. Um, but yeah, mainly eating at the house, cutting down a lot on processed foods. So, and then I have the Fig app. Hey, sponsor me. But yeah, I have the Fig app. That's been very helpful when I'm at the grocery store. You'd be so surprised how much crap is in the food that we eat. And you just go about your day, you just getting some ranch dressing. It just got unnecessary stuff in it. So even with that, like I have to be so much more intentional with my diet and my mental and my spiritual relationship too. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to share? Mm, trust in God. No. No, but for real, no, really. Trust in God, and hear Him. And I'm just like, I have to just go ahead and share this information rather than keep it in, because I can be helping somebody. I'm helping myself. This is a really good therapy for me right now. So like helping myself, helping others. Like God has you go through things for a reason. And it's like, what is He trying to teach you and how can you help others? So that's kind of how I'm trying to approach it to help me mentally as well. It's like, how can I help myself and how can I help others with this? So yeah, I might update you guys on the whole what the fertility doctor says. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to keep to myself and what I want to share with others. But it has been a long journey, and God has still kept me. I'm still here. I still got my one ovary. Look, so we're going to see what the testimony will continue to be, because so far, with 2 surgeries, God has kept me, and that's a testimony. And I'm still in this journey, in the storm of figuring out my health, but I don't think, it's not over yet. It's not over, so there's no need for me to feel defeated. So I'm in good spirits. Wanted to share this video. If you have any questions, hopefully while editing this video, I'll add pictures and stuff. I won't share because I did ask for a picture of the cyst that came out of me. She did show me, but it's very graphic. Don't want to get banned, but the cyst was about like this big. Like I looked 3 months pregnant. The first one they took out. But yeah. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Hopefully I can respond and be of any assistance. But yes, thank you. Have a good day. Be blessed.